There is a part inside a diesel truck about the size of a coffee mug that decides whether you own a good truck or a $10,000 mistake. Same engine, same badge on the tailgate, same shiny truck sitting on the same lot. One has the good pump in it and one does not, and the salesman standing next to you could not tell you which is which if you held a gun to his head. That is why I am making this one. Because diesel is where the money gets serious, and it is where a man your age can get hurt the worst. This comes off the government recall records at the highway safety folks, class action settlements sitting in federal court, and what diesel mechanics tell each other about which trucks keep coming back on the hook. I am Frank. I am 71, and I spent 34 years at the General Motors truck plant in Flint, Michigan. Started on the line, retired a master tech. I have had these engines apart on the bench, and I have watched grown men go white in a service drive over a fuel pump. So today I am doing it both ways. First, the diesels a senior should never buy, and exactly what breaks. Then the ones you should buy, including two you can go find this week. Stay to the end for that second half, because that is where the good news is. And stick around for the last thing I have got to say, because for a lot of you the right answer might not be a diesel at all. One honest thing before we start. A diesel is not automatically better than a gas motor, but if you want one, buy the right one. Let us get into it. First, the ones to walk away from. Start with the Ford 6.0-liter Power Stroke, the 2003 through 2007 Super Duty. Ask any diesel mechanic in America to name the worst diesel ever put in a pickup, and this is the first name out of his mouth. Here is how it kills you, and it is a chain. The oil cooler clogs up. That chokes off the exhaust cooler. The exhaust cooler fails. The engine overheats. And then it blows the head gaskets, because Ford only put 4 head bolts per cylinder holding those heads down. One clogged part takes out 3 systems in a row, and to do the head gaskets right, you do not pop the valve covers off. You lift the entire cab off the frame. Here is the part that ought to make you angry. A California appeals court upheld a finding that Ford knew this engine was defective and sold it anyway. Ford's own emails showed the warranty repairs were costing them $5 million a month. You buy a 6.0 cheap. That is the bait. Next, the Ford 6.4-liter Power Stroke, the 2008 through 2010. Folks think this one fixed the 6.0. It did not. It found a new way to die. To burn the soot out of the exhaust filter, this engine squirts extra fuel into the cylinders while it is running. That raw diesel washes past the piston rings and goes straight down into the oil pan. The engine dilutes its own oil. Guys drain 24 quarts out of a crankcase that only holds 15. 15 quarts in, 24 quarts out. That is diesel fuel, and diesel fuel does not lubricate anything. That same fuel washing down the cylinder wall cracks the pistons. Ford quietly cut the oil change interval to 5,000 miles to stay ahead of it. And just like the 6.0, the big jobs mean pulling the cab. 40 hours of labor before anybody touches a part. Repairs run $3,000 to $10,000. That is not a repair bill. That is a down payment on a different truck. Now the Ford 6.7-liter Power Stroke. And here is where I teach you the one thing that matters most in this whole video. There is a high-pressure fuel pump on modern diesels made by Bosch, and there are 2 versions of it. The old one is the CP3. The newer one is the CP4. The CP4 does not just quit on you. It eats itself. It grinds its own metal off and sends those shavings downstream through the injectors, the rails, the lines, and the tank. You do not replace a pump. You replace the entire fuel system. $10,000 to $15,000. One documented Ford dealer quote came in at $12,684. Now listen close, because there is bad advice all over the internet about this one. Fellas will tell you to buy an older 6.7 from before the pump problem. There is no before. Ford has put that CP4 in the 6.7 from 2011 straight through to the trucks on the lot today, every year. They never switched. Other fellas will tell you the newer ones are fixed. They are not fixed either. Ford recalled 295,000 trucks over that pump, the 2020 through 2022, and you want to know what the fix was? They updated the software. A computer update. For a pump that grinds itself into metal filings. Then this past March they had to recall about 10,000 of them again, because the first repair was done wrong. So the risk is the same across every year Ford built. All that changes is whether anybody is covering you. Hold on to that, because it is about to matter. Fourth, the Ram 1500 EcoDiesel. The little 3-liter diesel in a half-ton, 2014 through 2019. On paper it is a lovely idea. Diesel torque and good fuel mileage in a truck you can park at the grocery store. In the real world the exhaust cooler cracks from the heat, the coolant turns to vapor, that vapor gets sucked into the intake, and it ignites inside the engine. That is a fire under your hood while you are driving. Ram recalled 107,000 of them, and there was a settlement, and I want you to hear this part slowly. The settlement pays $3,000 to owners who already had a fire, if they can produce a police report or a fire report. There is a line item in that settlement for after your truck already burned. When a company budgets for your fire, that tells you what they knew. Fifth, and this one hurts because the engine underneath is a good one. The Ram 2500 and 3500 with the 6.7 Cummins, but only the 2019 and 2020 trucks. Just those 2 years. Ram put the CP4 in those, the same pump killing the Fords, and it did exactly what it does. Now here is the tell, and this is the best evidence in this entire video. Ram recalled 222,000 trucks, and the fix was not a software update. Dealers pulled the CP4 out and put the old CP3 back in. The manufacturer physically went back and installed the old pump. 3 companies, 1 pump. General Motors paid a $50 million settlement. Ram ripped the pump out. Ford updated the computer. You decide which one of those sounds like a company that fixed the problem. Number 6 on the do not buy side, and I am coming home to my own company. The General Motors Duramax, 2011 through 2016, the one they call the LML. Same story. That engine carries the CP4. It grenades without warning and fills the fuel system with metal. $8,000 to $12,000 to make right. General Motors settled a class action over it for $50 million, final approval in May of 2025. I spent 34 years building trucks with that bow tie on the tailgate, and I am telling you to skip those model years. And one more I will call a maybe rather than a no. The early Duramax, 2001 through 2004, the LB7. The injectors fail internally, and they are buried under the valve covers, so the labor is ugly, $3,000 to $4,000 for a set. But General Motors ran a special coverage program out to 7 years and 200,000 miles. So a lot of these trucks already got new injectors 20 years ago. If the seller can show you the injectors were done, that is a tough, simple, pre-emissions truck. If he cannot, walk away or take $4,000 off the price in your head. Quick favor before we get to the good half. If this is saving you from a $10,000 fuel pump, tap that like button. Costs you nothing, takes a second, and it helps this old plant rat reach the next fella standing on a lot right now about to sign the wrong paperwork. Now let us talk about the good ones. The Ford 7.3-liter Power Stroke, 1999 through 2003. And say the whole name, 7.3 Power Stroke, because Ford sells a gas engine today they also call a 7.3, and it is a completely different animal. This diesel was not rated like a pickup engine. It was rated on a commercial scale, a B50 life of 350,000 miles, and the same engine went into international trucks up to 65,000 pounds. Cast iron block, cast iron heads, forged crank, 4-bolt mains, and 6 head bolts per cylinder, where that 6.0 had 4. That is the whole difference right there. 444 cubic inches, making a lazy 210 to 275 horsepower. When an engine does not make enough power to hurt itself, it will chug along just about forever. No exhaust filter, no exhaust recirculation, nothing to clog. 4 to 500,000 miles is normal. One warning. 2003 is a split year. The early Super Duty got this engine. The late ones got the 6.0. Same year, same truck, two completely different lives. Check the engine, not the door sticker. Next, the Dodge Ram with the 5.9 Cummins 12-valve, 1994 through 1998. This is the one the old boys at the coffee shop will not shut up about, and for once they are right. Inline 6, gear-driven, with a fully mechanical Bosch injection pump. No computer runs it. You could pull every fuse out of the truck and it would still run. 5 to 700,000 miles before that pump wants a rebuild is normal. There are documented million-mile trucks, though I will be honest, those are exceptions and not what you should expect. It has one catch, and you need to know it. There is a dowel pin in the block that backs itself out and drops into the timing gears. They call it the killer dowel pin. No noise, no warning light, no code. Worst case, it wedges in the gears and the pistons hit the valves. The fix is a little metal tab. $50 to $100 for the kit. $350 to $800 installed. Not doing it costs $10,000 to $18,000. Also, 1998 is a split year. 6 little valve covers means the 12-valve. 1 big cover means the 24-valve. A different engine with different problems. Look under the hood, do not trust the ad. Third, and I get to say something nice about my own company. The Duramax LBZ, 2006 and 2007. It is the last Duramax built before they hung the exhaust filter on it, and it runs the good CP3 pump. Stronger block, deeper bores, forged steel connecting rods, 360 horsepower, and 650 pound-feet from the factory. The only real weakness anybody has found shows up over 650 horsepower at the wheels, which means it is not your problem unless you are drag racing the thing. 2 model years. If you find a clean one, that is the Duramax to own. Now those 3 are legends, but I know what some of you are thinking. Frank, I am not restoring a truck from 1996. I want to buy something I can drive off a lot. Fair enough. Here are the 2 I would put my own money on. The first one is the Duramax again, but the new one, the L5P, 2017 and up. And this is the single most useful fact in this whole video, so write it down. The L5P does not have a CP4. Not a bad one, not a revised one. None. For 2017, General Motors fired Bosch off the fuel system entirely and went to a Denso pump, 3 pumping cylinders instead of 2. With a screen on the inlet and an electric pump in the tank keeping it fed so it never runs dry. Ford patched their pump with software. Ram swapped theirs back to the old one. General Motors is the only one of the 3 that walked away from it and designed the problem out. That is why the $50 million settlement stops at 2016. The newer trucks were never in it. Now be careful out there, because there are websites claiming the L5P has a CP4 and quoting $8,000 to $12,000 to fix it. That is a real number, but it belongs to the older LML, and they are pinning it on the wrong truck. It is not perfect, and I am not going to pretend. The 10-speed transmission in the 2020 through early 2022 diesels got recalled, about 462,000 trucks, for a control valve that wears and can momentarily lock the rear wheels. There were nearly 1,900 reports of it, and the case that started it was a Sierra 2500 that locked up while towing a trailer, which is exactly what you would be doing with it. The fix was software, so if you want the L5P, get a 2023 or a 2022 built after January of that year, and they came out of the factory with the corrected software. And if you want to keep it simple, a 2019 is the last year with the 6-speed. And that 6-speed does not have a single recall against it. And the last one, the Ram 2500 and 3500 with the 6.7 Cummins, and you want either the 2007.5 through 2018 trucks or the 2021 through 2024 trucks. Those are the CP3 years. Skip the 2019 and 2020. We covered why. And here is the part almost nobody tells you. 2024 is where the CP3 stops. For 2025, Ram redesigned the whole engine and went to a brand new pump they call the CP8. Now on paper that new pump looks like a proper fix, and they finally deleted the grid heater that has been dropping bolts into cylinder 6 for years. It may turn out to be a great engine, but it has no miles on it yet, and I do not send a man your age out to be the one who finds out. So the sweet spot is a used one. If you can find a 2024, that is the pick, because it is the last CP3 year and it is the cleanest one. The 2021 through 2023 trucks got recalled for a grid heater relay that can start an engine fire with the key off. 302,000 of them, and Ram had to take 2 swings at that fix. So run the vehicle number and make sure it was done. Get the standard output, not the high output, unless you are pulling 30,000 pounds, which you are not. So there it is, 6 diesels to walk past and 5 to go find. And notice what actually separated them. It was not the badge. Ford is on both lists. General Motors is on both lists. Ram is on both lists in 2 different years of the very same engine. What separated them was a fuel pump the size of a coffee mug, and whether the company chose the good one, the cheap one, or walked away from the whole thing. So when you go look at a used diesel, you ask which high-pressure pump is in it. CP3 or that Denso, you keep talking. CP4, you either walk or you get it in writing that the pump has been swapped. That one question is worth $10,000, and the fella selling it to you is not going to bring it up on his own. Now here is the last thing, and it is the thing a salesman will never say. A modern diesel wants to be worked. It wants long hauls at temperature so the exhaust filter can burn itself clean. Short trips to the hardware store and back are the worst thing you can do to one. The filter never finishes its cycle. Fuel washes down into the oil, and a truck with 70,000 easy miles on it can be in worse shape than one with 150,000 hard ones. And a diesel costs about $10,000 more up front. There was a test run this year that figured you would need better than 400,000 miles to make that money back on fuel savings alone. So if you tow a camper twice a summer and otherwise drive to church and the feed store, the honest answer from an old mechanic is that you may not want a diesel at all. Buy the gas truck. Ford's big 7.3 gas motor or the 6.6 gas in the Chevy will pull your trailer just fine, and there is no filter to clog, no fluid to fill, and no $10,000 pump under the hood. The right truck is not always the biggest one. It is the one that fits how you actually drive. Now let me ask you, and I do read these, what diesel are you running, and how many miles are on it? I especially want to hear from the 7.3 and 12 valve guys, because I know you are out there. Drop it in the comments. And if you want the whole thing written down, the traps to dodge, and the models to chase, and the ones to leave sitting on the lot, I put it in a book called The Right Ride. I am not going to hard sell you. There is a link in the description if you want it. Either way, do me a favor and hit like and subscribe so the next fella finds this too. Ask which pump it has. Then buy the truck. This is Frank.